Hey, what's up, everyone? It's World of Wrestling here today to discuss about Random Wrestling Talk episode number 33. I got some interesting stuff to talk to you guys about today. Two subjects, one dealing with Tony Khan and the other dealing with Roman Reigns' situation about the news, rumors, and what's going on with the WWE and Universal Championships. So we'll get into the discussion about WWE first. We'll talk about Tony Khan to close out the show. Um, I gotta say, guys, this situation with Roman Reigns is not all that difficult as much as you know, WWE wants to make it. I guess they're trying to make something out of nothing, get people excited, saying, "Oh, there's controversy in WWE now." And there's creative problems going on. Oh boy, let's get into this. Kind of like trying to get some buzz compared to what AEW sucked up from all attention from behind the scenes in the wrestling community. Um, this is really not all that difficult of a situation. To be quite frank with you guys, it's a very easy solution to the problem. Here's how. Um, they could go ahead and have Roman Reigns, beat Kevin Owens I would say at Survivor Series. You could have him face him at Crown Jewel as a big main event match at the Saudi Arabia show if you want to do that. Um, and go from there until the Royal Rumble. At the Royal Rumble, I mean, you could have him face Gunther or something like that. Um, and maybe face him at the Royal Rumble for both titles, and Roman Reigns goes over on Gunther, or keep Gunther away from him completely. I just would like to see him get a world championship opportunity. It doesn't have to be a win. I don't think it would hurt Gunther in any way, shape, or form, but it is what it is. But personally, the easiest way to resolve this problem outside of him dropping the titles and vacating the belts, both of them simultaneously, so that both shows can have their respective world championships on their show, is have both Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre have a draw at the Royal Rumble like they did in the 94 Royal Rumble pay-per-view with Bret the Hitman Hart and Lex Luger. This would lead to them both of 2023. And at that point, they could, not hot shot it and push it immediately to giving an explanation of who's getting the title opportunity or whatnot, but more along the lines like, hey, we got to have Adam Pearce come out on a Monday Night Raw episode and say, look, we got to sit back and really talk this over with the higher ups, figure out what we should do at this point, whether to reward both of you or have you both challenge each other in a one-on-one matchup at the next pay-per-view, which I would believe is Elimination Chamber following that. They could go that route, and they could spend like a week or maybe possibly two just to stretch it out, how both of them really pissed off and like, what the fuck is this, man? We both want to know what the hell we're doing here. Are we getting a championship opportunity? What's going on? And then, like, out of nowhere, on a Raw episode, they make the big announcement. Both of them were on the show, and they're sitting at a press conference table type of deal for a contract signing type of situation. And Adam Pearce comes out. He brings both of them out to give them the final word of what's going on. And, he goes ahead and he says, look, we've decided the CEOs, Stephanie and Nick Khan, have both decided that both of you will get to face Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championships. Um, how this is going to go is, since one is on Raw, one is on SmackDown, we are going to have Cody Rhodes face him for the Raw Championship, which is the WWE title. He's going to face Roman for the WWE Championship, since that's the original belt that was on Raw. And then we're going to have Drew McIntyre face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship and allow him to have that rematch he had at Clash at the Castle. Now, with that being said, guys, I think that would be a great way of doing this. Now, you guys may ask me, well, what about the deal with Karrion Cross? They got a story going on with that. How would you book that match? That's a little bit of a difficult thing. I think I would go with Karrion Cross winning that match with Drew McIntyre and have that be the only loss that Drew McIntyre suffers for the next several months leading into the pay-per-view itself of the Royal Rumble. Um so that's what I would do. I would pick Karrion Cross. I think he would be a great selection. But the problem is you'd have heel versus heel situation at a WrestleMania pay-per-view, either on night one or night two. So my attitude is real simple. I don't think that's the best route, even though that could work. But based on the fact that you're having heel versus heel, I don't think that that would be in the best interest of storyline telling. Match booking wise, I think that would be a great match, but you're trying to tell a story. The story is not Karrion Cross with Roman Reigns. There's a little bit of a story with Karrion Cross and Roman Reigns, but not as much as what Drew McIntyre has with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre have years regardless. So they are actually doing something here that actually would make sense by giving Drew McIntyre the Royal Rumble win along with Cody Rhodes. So that's how I would split the two belts. Now, from what I heard recently on Sportskeeda, there is actually a report going around in WWE. One of the creative booking decisions, which Paul Levesque, Triple H, is looking for answers or ideas from other people of ideas of what they could do with both titles and how would they be able to separate them. The idea of one of the creators is just dropping the WWE Championship or WWE title. I think that's a stupid, fucked up idea. But their idea is to create a tournament to crown a new WWE champion by day one, pay-per-view for January 1st. I think that's a fucked up idea. Now, if they would have done what I've been saying is Roman Reigns drops both titles and they do a tournament for both championships, I would feel that would be an okay idea. Why in the blue hell would Roman Reigns want to drop one of the titles? That makes no logical sense. He owns two of the biggest belts in the company right now. He'd want to have it all. The Usos got all the tag team gold that WWE can offer outside of the NXT tag team titles. But other than that, they got all the main roster tag team titles. The only thing missing is Solo Cola going ahead and Solo Sokoa winning both mid-card titles, and then the Bloodlines got all the fucking gold for the men. That's insane, man. So the reality is they need to have, if they want to have him drop the titles, that's fine too. I've been saying that that would be a great way to end Roman Reigns' reign. Nobody would beat him. He would walk away unbeatable. No one beat him. And then you could have that Rock versus Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania that they're actually talking about as well. There's thoughts of him facing Roman for a world championship. What? Who the fuck needs a Rock versus Roman Reigns world championship match? What is The Rock going to do if he beats Roman Reigns for the title? Drop it? Like, I'm vacating the title, guys. I only came back to stop Roman Reigns and prove that I'm the head of the table and I'm the head of honcho of the Samoan family. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. He's talking ridiculous shit right there, man. Utterly retarded. All right, so let me go into the chat. Not much going on. You guys are not showing up for this episode, so this is going to be a very short episode, unfortunately. I did post a notification for you guys to come on in several hours before it was supposed to take place. So I guess apparently you guys must be busy with your own lives, and I totally understand that. So anyone that comes in and sees the video after it's been live, I greatly appreciate a like on that. And if you guys want to leave any comments down below, like we would do here live on the channel, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or just respond to your comments. Anyway, Matt87 Eagle says World of Wrestling is getting what he always wanted, Roman Reigns as champion for life. No, I don't want him champion for life, Matt. No. Matt87 Eagle also says, does Drew need another shot at the world championship? Well, like I just said, he's the only person who truly has a story being built personally between himself and Roman Reigns. Karrion Kross would not be the proper choice for that because of the fact that there's really not all that much story to be told so far between the interaction of those two men. And on top of that, guys, um, he's a heel. So I wouldn't go with Karrion Kross, even though Karrion Kross would be a good selection to go with. But because of the other factors that you have to include into the situation, it's really not a smart move on their part to do that. Matt87 Eagle also states that all we need is someone on Raw to beat Roman for the WWE title to get the belt on the show. Well, I just mentioned that. If you have Cody and Drew McIntyre both win the Royal Rumble, one challenging for a SmackDown World Championship, and Cody challenging for the Raw World Championship, which is the WWE title, there you go. Problem solved. Roman Reigns stays champion all the way up till WrestleMania, and he loses to the two stories that are being told. Cody's story is I want to win a world championship. Voila. Drew McIntyre has had a series of matches with Roman Reigns and has not yet beaten Roman Reigns ever. They've fought each other, I believe, 3 times. WrestleMania 35, they also wrestled each other at Survivor Series of 2020 when they were both champions on both of their brands for Raw and SmackDown, and then just recently at Clash at the Castle. So he is 0 for 3, Drew McIntyre. He is owed an opportunity to win the World Championship, the Universal Championship being the title he would win. That's what I go with. That's the best story. He got beat in his hometown. What better sweet way to get revenge at main eventing WrestleMania night 1? Because that's what I would put. I would put that as night 1. I would not put that as night 2 because the bigger story is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes' family has never won a world championship ever in WWE. He would be the first Rhodes member of his family to ever win a WWE World Championship. How great of a story would that be? And in a way of honoring his father. You know what also would be great? Cody Rhodes coming out with his father's theme music to kickstart the show and then going into his actual legit theme music, or skip the fucking original theme music he has and stay with his father all the way through his entrance. I think that would be fucking cool as shit. I think that would be a huge, huge respect to Dusty Rhodes in doing that and then giving the title to his son. I think that would be excellent. I wished the best part of the story would be that Dusty Rhodes is still alive to witness this at WrestleMania. That would be the greatest story ever told. At least for in the last 10 years, I think this is the best story we've got going right now. It makes logical sense. And I think a lot of people would respect the idea at the end of all of this. I think it's a huge payoff for both superstars, and it's a huge story by both guys. And then you got Roman Reigns in the middle, who's been dominating WWE, and then you have two guys finally dethrone him on both ends of the spectrum, separating the two belts completely, and then having both brands have their world championships. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's a great story. I think it's better than the Rock and Roman Reigns, even though yeah, it does have a great story to tell. But the thing is, it doesn't need a world championship added to that story. It just can be a singles match. So if you take the titles off of Roman completely, have Roman vacate the belts, bring Roman back after the Royal Rumble, or The Rock comes in and wants to, and you could say he's a host of WWE's WrestleMania in Los Angeles, which lately in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, he's been showing up. You know, he's literally have been showing up to those football games that the Rams have been having. So him being a host makes even more sense than anything else. And he's already been a host at WrestleMania 27, which was probably one of the worst WrestleManias in the last 10 years. Um, but you go ahead and you have that, and then you have Roman Reigns. You know, he hears this, you know, from watching Raw or SmackDown or whatever. You have him go ahead and hear this and goes, "What? Okay, I'm coming back now. I got something to prove. There's an opponent I haven't faced yet, and I'm going to beat his ass." That's what I'd do. That's how I'd make that story come to fruition. But I don't think it's a story that needs to be told. I don't think it's necessary. The Rock's got so many projects and things he's got to deal with. I don't even think his mind is even on the Rock versus Roman Reigns type match at WrestleMania. So why care about it? It's not even that necessary. So my attitude is worry about the two belts, worry about Drew and Cody Rhodes, have Karrion Cross go over on Drew McIntyre for this one time. I'd say at Crown Jewel. That's what I would do. And then have Drew McIntyre finally, you know, wake up, realize, you know, I've suffered two major losses here. I need to wake the fuck up and go on a fucking tear from October or from November all the way through till WrestleMania and have just a big ass winning streak going, beating everyone's ass in fucking squash matches. Anyone that you can actually put him up against that's not going to hurt them by being in a squash match. Drew McIntyre would be one of them, but he's on Raw, so that wouldn't work. But then again, they've been throwing anybody and everybody on every show, so it doesn't make a fucking difference. Um, I think that's the best way of telling the story. I think that Roman and facing those two guys at one on one, night one and night two would be the best option for them to go with. It's the safest option, and it's the best story to tell. So at the end of the day, guys, I don't see any harm in that. I really don't. Matt 87 Eagle states that say Roman drops the belts, what's that say about the guys who win the belts? That's a good, valid point. That could be used the same way as, you know, him dropping the WWE championship just because. What are they going to do? They're going to have Adam Pearce tell him, look, Raw ain't got a world championship on the show, so we need you to drop one of the titles. Why would he want to drop one of the titles? He'd be like, have one of your fucking choices that want to challenge me for the world title, beat me for it. Or otherwise, you can kiss my ass. I ain't dropping shit. And truth of the matter is, they can't technically make him drop a title just because. You know, it's got to be earned. It's not just dropping it. So your point there, your question there is very valid, Matt. But at the same time, even if you drop one title instead of both, What does that really prove to? It's the same kind of question, only it's dealing with one championship. So it means like nobody really earned anything. They had to just go through a tournament. They never beat the official champion, and that's that. So at the end of the day, it's a crapshoot. It's fucking a joke. At the end of the day, guys, there's really only one option. What I just said: have two winners for the Royal Rumble, one from Raw, one from SmackDown. One challenges the WWE Championship, and the other challenges for the Universal Championship. Problem solved. Both challengers win, and Roman Reigns is no longer champion. End of story. And the Roman Reigns head of the table storyline is over. Until next time. Anyway, Matt 87 Eagle says simple solution. Roman defends the Universal title only at the Rumble. Then immediately after retaining, he puts the WWE title up in the Royal Rumble match as the number one entry. Where the fuck does that make any sense? Look, I'm telling you, Matt, it's real fucking simple. All you got to do is have two Royal Rumble winners. That is the most logical path of story booking here. You don't need to go ahead and have all this Mickey Mouse insanity. He's going to defend one title and then he's going to defend the other on a fucking Royal Rumble match? Why? What is the fucking point of that? There is no logical reasoning behind that. That makes no fucking sense. They've been making him defend both titles. So what you're saying is he's going to defend it in a one-on-one match, both titles, and then have him defend it in defend both titles at the Royal Rumble match itself. That makes no fucking sense. The only logical reasoning, and I've already explained it, is real simple. Two guys win the Royal Rumble, one's from Raw, one's from SmackDown. End of story. They draw it out a little bit, like 2 weeks after the Royal Rumble pay-per-view takes place. And then they explain what their decision is. We have decided that we are going to have both winners face Roman Reigns for the title. Cody, you're from Raw. Drew, you're from SmackDown. You're challenging for the Universal title, Drew. And Cody, you're going to challenge for the WWE Championship. Have both challengers win the match, one on night one and one on night two. I already stated that on night one, it should be Drew versus Roman Reigns, and night two should be Roman versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Problem solved. End of fucking story. There's a solution to your fucking problem. Real simple. And just to answer your question, Matthew, if they do have Roman defend the WWE Championship and the Universal title in separate matches and have the Universal title defended in a regular matchup, one-on-one, and he retains that belt and then goes into the actual Royal Rumble match and defends the WWE Championship in that match, you would have Cody have to win that match. Cody would not be able to get a Royal Rumble win if you do that. And you don't want him winning the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. What kind of fucking crowning moment is that? Oh, he doesn't get to pin Roman Reigns in an actual match. We get to see him throw Roman Reigns over the top rope. How the fuck kind of freaking finish is that? And secondly, what kind of moment is that for Cody Rhodes? He gets to throw someone over the top rope to win a title. That's pathetic. You don't do that. Sorry. I disagree with the idea. Cody should be winning the Royal Rumble along with Drew McIntyre. And that's that. End of fucking story. Those are the two guys that have the best stories to tell. Two guys that have had Cody's been having interaction in the sense of he's been asking for a world championship opportunity. He wants to win it. That's the story you want to tell. That's a primary story. And the secondary story is a story that Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns have been telling for the last couple of years. They have been going on and off facing each other, and Roman Reigns has gone over Drew McIntyre every single time. So that's the big adversary that Drew McIntyre needs to overcome. He's even a bigger adversary and opponent than Brock Lesnar was, because at least with Brock Lesnar, he had no losses going into their match for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 36. So there's the situation right there. And that's the explanation to why I'm saying what I'm saying, that Drew and Cody need to win the Royal Rumble as a combined thing. They need to share that win. It's that simple. Nothing difficult, guys. Really nothing difficult. Also, I found out some rumor that there is title designs for the new WWE championships, in the sense of the tag team titles. The women's tag team titles are getting a new design. Thank God. Those belts are fucking boring as shit and bland to boot. No official word yet about the World Heavyweight Championships. But hey, I don't know, you know. But they are definitely going to be giving a new design for those belts. I don't know if they're unifying the belts as one and having the Wing Eagle World Championship type of design created and given to only one world champion. That's another option they could go. They could just fucking have one world champion. They don't need two. And just have the world champion go on both shows. There you go. Matt 87 Eagle says Cody wins the Rumble and McIntyre wins the Chamber. Okay. They each face Roman for one belt on night 1 and night 2. So what you're saying is you believe that they should do a match where Cody wins the Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre competes in a elimination chamber match to challenge for the world championship? What the hell? That just sounds a little fucked up. I'm sorry. I just don't agree with these ideas. It's a real simple path. Two Royal Rumble winners. It's old school mentality. It hasn't been done in a fucking long time. Nobody, if you're a guy who's not a hardcore wrestling fan, you would have never seen this coming. And it makes logical sense. That idea, I don't understand. So what are they going to do? A triple threat match? I have actually heard this on another channel, a YouTube channel, where they were going to do a triple. They're going to do a triple. The rumor that there's going to be a triple threat match for both titles, and it's going to be for multiple pinfalls, 2 pinfalls or submissions. One's going to be for the WWE Championship, and the other's going to be for the Universal Championship. And that's how they're going to decide their champions, like they did with Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle back in WrestleMania 2000 for both the Intercontinental and European Championship, when Kurt Angle owned both titles. No. You don't do it that way either. That's fucking ridiculous. Matt 87 Eagle says you don't need 2 winners because it ruins Cody's return. No, it does not. It does not ruin the fucking return. It makes logical sense, Matt. It makes sense. He gets to have his win along with Drew McIntyre, which, by the way, both of them deserve. So it doesn't ruin shit, Matt. I don't know what you're talking about, and you're the only person in the chat. I wish somebody else would actually comment here in the chat. Maybe back me up on my ideas here, because, Matt, all you keep doing is counteracting what I'm saying every fucking time. I don't believe that would ruin Cody's return. You're giving him the fucking main event of night 2. You put Cody first. Drew McIntyre second because he's a secondary story with Roman Reigns. Hell, if you really want to get technical, Kevin Owens belongs in that story. Yes, it does make sense. Matt, I would agree with you if they're going to go ahead and stick with one championship, one world champion, fine. You don't need Drew McIntyre to win. You don't need Drew McIntyre to win the Royal Rumble. You have Cody go ahead, win by himself. I'll agree with you on that. But they're talking about wanting to have two world championships, one on Raw, one on SmackDown, like they originally had, before they unified the titles to make it more complicated than it has to be, when in reality, it's not that fucking complicated. You're saying, what's the point of the chamber then? The point of the chamber would be Roman Reigns defending the belt against five other top guys against him, stacking the odds against him even more. That would be the point. So whoever wins that match would be very unfortunate to have to go to WrestleMania to face both of those opponents. So whoever wins that match, truthfully, they really should just get rid of the Elimination Chamber. It's fucking pointless. It's a theme pay-per-view, which I think absolutely fucking sucks anyway. I don't think they need a pay-per-view in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Build a story going into WrestleMania from the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. That's all they need to do. It's that fucking simple. That's all they got to do, Matt. Since you're the only one here in the chat, I wish other people would show up, but hey, if that's the case, that's the case. No biggie. But that's the thing. I get where you're coming from, Matthew, but at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, we have two belts that are being looked at as two separate championships. Yes, you're saying what you're saying is true. They aren't unified. One guy's holding both belts. I get that, because if that wasn't the case, they wouldn't be talking about wanting to separate the two titles. They want to have two world champions running one show, one champion on one show, another champion on another show. I get it. But this is the fucking pickle, problem, issue, whatever you want to phrase it, made by good old Vincent Kennedy McMahon while he was busy getting his dick shined by some dumb, paralegal who was getting paid under the table to shut the fuck up about their relationship. So let's get real, folks. Okay? Let's get real. The bottom line is you got to have two fucking Royal Rumble winners to have two challengers for the World Heavyweight Championships. Or otherwise, and they have to both be from different shows. So one has to be from Raw, one has to be from SmackDown. If you have like Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, who are both from Raw, it's not going to make any sense at all for one to challenge for the world title and the other to challenge for the SmackDown title. So at the end of the day, Kevin Owens is completely out of the picture. Kevin Owens needs to challenge for the two belts at a pay-per-view like Survivor Series or something. That would make sense. He loses, and we move him on to a Sami Zayn teaming with him to go up against the Usos at WrestleMania. So there you go. Matt, look, you and I are going to debate about this like we debated about the fucking gosh darn CM Punk issue. Back and forth, nonstop. Fine. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't care. My attitude is real simple. This is my channel. I'm the one on the screen here talking in a microphone, and you're behind a chair, either your laptop or your cell phone, chatting in the chat instead of having your voice heard here on the channel. I've offered to put you here on the show with a speaker here by phone, and have a conversation here on the channel to do random wrestling talk, but you refuse to do so. So at the end of the day, you can do all the debating you want with me at this point, but Let's be honest. There is nothing more we need to debate about. You and I are done here with the conversation. It's that fucking simple. You've stated what you feel. I've stated what I feel. I don't agree with you. That's it. It's over. There's nothing to talk about here. Matt 87 Eagle says SmackDown has chamber match to determine who faces Roman at WrestleMania Night 1. Why? Why? Why do they need to do it that way? Are they going to make a decision that he needs to have both titles separated out of fucking nowhere? Because all of a sudden they don't have a Raw World Champion? He's the fucking champion. That's their problem. They should be making him show up on Raw. Instead, they're not. So what are they going to do? Then, discipline him because he's not showing up on Raw? They're the ones that need to have him show up on Raw and do something. This is why all this is a fucking mess. That's why they're saying it's complicated, but it really isn't. It's not that fucking hard, and it doesn't strip away anything to Cody, and Drew McIntyre deserves it just as much as Cody after the match we saw with him and Roman Reigns. And what he did during the pandemic was unfucking believable. Okay? Him as WWE champion on Raw during the pandemic, he did everything he could, but he was given terrible, terrible fucking creative booking. And that's the reason why he failed as WWE champion, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says. It's that freaking simple. These are two stories that can be told and should be told because they both deserve it. It's that fucking simple, Matthew. You want to say it's taking away from, Cody Rhodes' win? How is that taking away Cody Rhodes' win? He won. He won in a tie. Who gives a shit? He's going to WrestleMania and getting an opportunity for the World Heavyweight Championship to bring home to Raw. And then you got Drew McIntyre with a story where he has not won once against Roman Reigns, and he beats him at the biggest show of them all for World Championship. I don't see the problem in that. And the Elimination Chamber, well, Roman Reigns proves he's the head of the table, the tribal chief, and beats 5 different fucking superstars in the Elimination Chamber to retain both titles. Or better yet, just fucking get rid of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view event and just go straight to WrestleMania building stories going into it. And that's all. But hey, this is my opinion. Matt 87 Eagle also states because Cody won the Royal Rumble, he's only challenging for the WWE. No, he's not only challenge. If he wins by himself, he's challenging for both titles because the titles have never once been issued or explained that they are two titles that need to be defended separately against different opponents. Had they done a match with Matt Riddle and Roman Reigns on a SmackDown episode saying that Matt Riddle can only challenge for the WWE Championship because he is a Raw guy and a WWE Championship is a Raw Championship, and he kept losing, and Roman was defending against all these challengers and beating them all for both titles separately, that would make sense. I would be okay with that. But they never booked it that way. They said those titles are unified by storyline alone, not by creative backstage. Yes, creative backstage does not look at the two titles as separate, as unified belts. They look at them as separate belts, but based on creative storytelling alone, that is the story. That's the deal. So if he wants to challenge for the WWE Championship, well, he's getting an extra bonus on top of that with the Universal Championship. It's that fucking simple. Because they're saying he's the unified world champion. They keep saying that over and over again. What I'm saying is you have both of these guys win the Royal Rumble. They go to the higher ups. The higher ups finally come to a decision after a week or two. And they say, look, you know what, Roman, you haven't been on Raw at all. You're a world champion who claims he's the absolute best of the best and he can beat everybody. So since Cody's a Raw guy, Drew McIntyre's a SmackDown guy, you're going to defend both titles separately against both men. So you're going to defend the WWE Championship against Cody and the Universal title against Drew McIntyre. There you go. It's that fucking simple. I don't see a lot of people saying that that is a bad idea. Now, you want to say your idea about Drew McIntyre just winning the Elimination Chamber, being granted an opportunity for the World Championship. Okay, they could do a screw job finish where there's a technicality that takes place on Drew McIntyre and he can complain about the situation. And they put him in an Elimination Chamber match and he wins the Elimination Chamber and he gets a number one contender opportunity. And they can bring up the idea that this is going to be a triple threat match, but then higher up say, hey, look, you know what? We've decided to separate the two titles. If you want to go that direction, if that's what you feel, okay. I guess I can compromise with you on that concept if they go in that direction, but they got to include the higher ups deciding, you know what? We don't want a triple threat match for our main event. We want both shows to have two separate belts, both shows having their own respective world champion. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we've decided. We're going to have Roman defend the title against Cody for the WWE Championship since he's a Raw guy, and we're going to have Drew McIntyre to get the Universal Championship opportunity. Drew McIntyre's night 1 and Cody's night 2. You want to do that? Fine. I can agree with you on that. That'll be fine with me. But at the end of the day, I think that my idea is better because it's old school, has done in a very long time, and both men, in my personal opinion, deserve to be the Royal Rumble winners. They've both earned it. They've done a lot in the last few years. Look at what Cody's done in AEW. He did an outstanding job with that company. He did great stuff. I enjoyed what he did there. It was just that his face act was getting drawn out. It was boring and it was getting old for me. So I wanted him to turn heel. That was my only gripe about Cody Rhodes. Otherwise, I liked Cody Rhodes in AEW. And then he comes over to the WWE. What happens? Nothing changes about the man. He stays the absolute same and he feels a little different to me. He's not playing a, oh, feel sorry for me. My life's so terrible. No, his attitude is I'm determined to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And here's the thing, guys. The World Championship in AEW should have never been booked where if he lost to Chris Jericho, he'd never get a World Championship opportunity ever again. That was the dumbest fucking thing I have ever heard in my life. And I thought it was stupid at the time. But I thought maybe that was being booked by Cody Rhodes because he didn't want to hog up the main event scene to allow other new stars that have never had an opportunity to be world champions to go ahead and do that. So that's why I thought he did what he did, but apparently it might have not been the actual legit booking by him. It was by Tony Khan. And if that's the case, well, that was just plain fucking stupid in my book. Shit. Anyway, since we're talking about AEW, let's transition over to Tony Khan. Tony Khan, as we all know, has had all this media bullshit taking place. And giving us all this nonsense about CM Punk, the media scrum brawl backstage, and Tony Khan basically being a bitch. Let's be honest. He was disrespected by CM Punk. CM Punk had no business doing what he did. If he's friends with Tony Khan, he should have done better by Tony Khan. I don't give a fuck what he thinks about the other guys working there. He should have thought about Tony Khan in the long run. Because if I was friends with Tony Khan and I was upset like CM Punk, I'd have said, look, I'm gonna try to I want to express my grievances about this, but I'm also at the same time gonna try my darndest to not disrespect you because I have a lot of respect for you. But I don't like what's been going on here. I want to express my grievances. If Tony Khan said, "Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and do it." I'm cool with that. We can make something out of it, which is what was mentioned in the rumor mill. There was a report that CM Punk predetermined to do this speech at the media scrum in the beginning. And people knew about it because he said, "Wait until you see what I have to say at that press conference." And boy, did he have a lot to say. Oh, shit. Not to mention, he hyped up the fucking Mindy Bakery place in Chicago. They got a ton of freaking reviews from wrestling fans. And the fans are making all kinds of remarks and joked out reviews, which I found extremely funny. I heard from JD from New York 206 reporting on this, which I thought was great. But yeah, Tony Khan was disrespected by CM Punk 100%. I've already told you guys, suspension or being fired is the two options Tony Khan has. I was listening to Jim Cornette today while I was working, and he had a couple of remarks that he said that I think made a lot of sense. And I'm not the biggest fan of Jim Cornette. I think some of his commentary is a little fucked up, but I always like to hear from other people's opinions and thoughts. It's kind of interesting getting an idea of everyone's thoughts and what they have to say about the pro wrestling business. And especially from a guy like Jim Cornette, who's been there for God knows how many years. He's been there for an extremely long time. So if you want to hear guys like Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, Booker T, Bubba Ray Dudley, fuck no, fuck him. He's worse than Booker T in my book. Holy shit. Bubba Ray Dudley has said some really off the wall creative booking ideas that I don't ever want to listen to ever again. And some of his comments about the pro wrestling business today is fucked up. Vince Russo is another one. If you want to hear something from someone that knows what he's talking about, Vince Russo is definitely one of them. He hates the pro wrestling business at this point. He is totally against the way wrestling is being made out to be these days. And I'm starting to agree with some of these guys. They made very valid points. Why are they making the ring a fucking trampoline? Why does every wrestler do the same exact thing every fucking match? I'm talking about AEW. WWE, they got some of that, but they also got a variety of other choices of pro wrestling that is included in their shows. These guys that go ahead and do all these flips and dives, yeah, it's cool. It's talented. I mean, it shows off that they're talented guys. Dante Martin's one of the best at doing that. But these guys need to learn a safer way to wrestle and save that kind of stuff for pay-per-views. Honestly, that's the way I feel. I think they need to do a variety of different types of wrestling in their matches to make them, different. And I think that's a very cool idea. But yeah, I mean, guys like MJF, which is the real face of this fucking company, it's not Chris Jericho. John Moxley is definitely the head baby face, while MJF's the head heel of the show. But yeah, MJF is the star power of that show. Moxley comes in second because Moxley, he has been giving you the greatest speeches in the world. He's been giving his heart and soul into these matches. Some of his wrestling, I have to, and he's openly admitted this last week, that he's not the best wrestler in the world. This is coming from a guy who's a leader of that locker room saying that there are wrestlers that are better than even himself that can outdo him in wrestling. But he has one thing that makes him the one of the absolute best, and that's heart. And that's what I love about John Moxley. John Moxley has the biggest heart in this business. He wants to prove he's the best. He wants to prove he's the leader. And that's what this company needs, a fucking leader, big time. Tony Khan, what does he need to do? I don't know. Guys like JD from New York 206 have said this. BC Amplified has said this. If you guys know who he is, he's a very good YouTube content creator. And even Jim Cornette has finally said this as well. And he's one of the top guys in pro wrestling because he's been in there for a long time. He knows about the business. And he even said it. And this is coming from a fucking expert, not just average Joes like myself and other people that do this YouTube shit, but a legit expert in the wrestling business. And he's saying what everyone else is saying. This guy needs a creative booking team. He needs to delegate the workload that he's taken on himself and give it to other people that know the business better than himself. I know one that would be great. Dustin Rhodes is perfect. Dustin Rhodes knows that business inside and out. He has the greatest wrestling creator in the business that he learned from, and that was Dusty Rhodes, who is no longer with us, unfortunately. And I gotta say, I think Dusty Rhodes should be a head of creative. I think you should give the man a shot, see what he can do for the next week or two. If he's giving you great content, people are enjoying it. The ratings are slightly going up, and we see an increase in the ratings every few weeks. I say you keep him. If not, move him back to the position he was in. Don't fire him. I mean, this is like me personally. If I was Tony Khan, I would be experimenting with the experienced guys backstage, seeing what they can do creatively to help book the show better and make it more popular than what it is. Because let's face the facts, guys. I'm saying, let's face the folks. Let's face facts. Show. I love his wrestling. I love his mentality. His show reminds me of a UFC type of look. It's got that UFC vibe. I love that fucking kind of vibe. I think it's great. But there's no, major explosive kind of thing taking place on his show outside of last week's episode. Last week's episode was amazing. I loved it. I thought it was great. But at the end of the day, what is his ratings going to be when Wednesday comes around tomorrow? What is his rating going to be? Is he going to be over 1 million? Is he going to garner a few more thousand people? Is he going to go from a 1.035 to maybe a 1.075 and gain 40,000 people? Or is he going to go down and dip underneath 1 million? Which, by the way, going into the ratings, Monday Night Raw, folks, the first night of Monday Night Raw going up against the NFL, whoa, it wasn't good. I thought it was, I didn't know it was going to be this bad, and I don't believe that Raw was a bad show. Matt 87 Eagle, let me know, how was Raw last night? Was it a good show or was it a bad show? Anyway, I'll wait for his response. But yeah, their rating was a 1.7. 1.7. Now, I'm guilty as charged. I actually did not watch Monday Night Raw last night. I was watching the Seattle Seahawks Broncos game, and for good reason. I actually put a $9 bet down for the opportunity to win $1 million. Unfortunately, I didn't win the million, but I did win some money. I won at least $12. So I walked away somewhat of a winner, but I was really hoping for the million or having a share of that $1 million in first place. Unfortunately, that was not the case, not even close. But yeah, that's why I was watching Monday Night Football. I'm going to go ahead and watch Raw as soon as I can. Once I do, I will provide you guys a Raw review on that, giving you guys some kind of commentary by me on how I felt about the show. But yeah, personally, I Tony Khan needs to work on getting his backstage issues taken care of. Jim Cornette said something that was amazing, and I think it was 100% right on the spot because it makes a lot of sense. Here's what he had to say. talking about talent relations. He said that, Tony Khan is talent relations, not also the owner, but also the booker, the creative writer, everything. He said, dude, you don't go ahead and book a show all by yourself. You don't have yourself dealing with talent as well. You delegate the work to everybody that you know might be able to do the best job at that. He said, Jim Ross, JR, is the best person to go with as talent relations. He has years of experience from WWE being in talent relations and doing that job. He should be the one talking to the guys backstage about what's bothering them, trying to work out issues that's taking place backstage, all those kinds of things, because he knows how to deal with it. He's done it. That makes sense. Think about a job, folks, a regular job. When you go to a job, if you have no job experience in that job you applied for, how in the fuck are you going to get the job if you have no experience at that position? Now, granted, if you're a person working within the company and you've shown the company loyalty towards their company, you work unbelievably, you're always there, you're always on time, you're doing the job correctly, and you have the drive to be the absolute best and you want to get that promotion, yeah, they're going to possibly give you that promotion because you're within the company. But if you're an outside guy and you have no fucking experience whatsoever in the company, they're not going to hire you. They're going to hire someone with the experience in that kind of position. So that's what they're going to go with. So that's what I'm trying to say here. This makes a lot of sense. Now, is there somebody else that could do talent relations? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert. I don't know what goes on backstage. I don't know who's got the skill set to be a talent relations. But if I'm going to go with someone I know that has those talent relation experience, I go with Jim Ross. And I honestly don't think anyone would care if Jim Ross is on commentary anymore because he doesn't have it anymore. I think if he went ahead and he tried to produce the same kind of commentary he used to produce back in the day, he'd probably give himself a heart attack. And that's why his commentary has been, you know, downward. He's not energetic. And the reason why is probably because if he tried to do that and be like a Mero Ronaldo or like his old self again, he'd give himself a fucking heart attack while doing commentary like Jerry the King Lawler did on in 2012's Raw episode. But that's not something we need. Jim Ross is a good guy. He really is dedicated to the wrestling business. And he don't really need to be a commentator anymore. I think Tony Schiavone being a head commentator is probably a good decision. He's a lot younger than Jim Ross, I believe. Let me grab my phone real quick and see the age difference between these two guys. Give me one sec. Tony Schiavone is 64 years old. Let's see Jim Ross's age. Believe he's about maybe Jim Ross is 70. So he's about 6 years younger uh than Jim Ross. So Tony Schiavone probably would be the best choice to go with. Jim Ross is 70 years old. This guy doesn't need to be on a fucking microphone doing commentary anymore. He's given everything to this business when it comes to commentary and just being the most entertaining commentary broadcaster you can possibly ask for in a person. He's given everything to that. I personally think he needs to work backstage, work with the talent, and do his thing there. And I think that's pretty much where the safest decision is. But yeah, he needs Tony Khan needs to delegate some things. We need a guy that's in creative that knows about the wrestling business and has an understanding about it. I think Dustin Rhodes would be the perfect choice for that since he is the son of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was a creative fucking genius. He's the one who actually started NXT, by the way, and FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, which initially turned into NXT at the end of the day. So let's recognize real here. And not to mention, Dusty Rhodes has come up with some very creative ideas in WCW back in the day when Jim Crockett was around and Ted Turner. Both of those owners actually would take some of his creative ideas and utilize them on the show. So this guy is not a fucking idiot. He knew about professional wrestling. Cody has done a lot of creative ideas as well and has learned from his father based on that whole situation. So that's all there is to say on that, guys. So one other thing, Matt did say that it was a good show. Nothing special besides Johnny Gargano's debut match, but it was a good show nonetheless. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing that show. Probably I'll watch it just before Dynamite or I'll watch it tonight, one of the two. And I'll give you guys my review on that sometime either on Thursday or during the weekend. So I'm going to be really busy. I am going to mention this, give you guys a heads up. You know, I'm not going to be here for the next few weeks because I'm getting ready to move. The move in date is coming close. So I'm going to need to take time off from doing live streams. You guys will get a video upload from me for Dynamite, Raw, and or SmackDown, and Rampage. So you guys will get that from me at least. But the live streams for Random Wrestling Talk for the next 2 weeks will be canceled. I will not be on here live until I moved in until I move into my new apartment. I can speak, I think. Anyway, guys, at this time, I am done here. I have nothing more to say. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, hit that like button. I greatly appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel and leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. And I thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.